Hello again, Chris Lee and Chase Robinson of Southeastern 16 here to outline a winning formula for Oklahoma football. Sooners got a bye week as we do this, heading into the Texas game, and the schedule is brutally tough. But there's also some things that the Sooners have and can do that we think make some upsets possible. And just for spoiler alert, they involve defense, Michael Hawkins, and health. Chase, I don't know that anybody in the country has a tougher path going forward than Oklahoma, but there are some things that the Sooners have in their quiver that lead to wins that we'll get into, and very interested to see where this will go for Brent Venables in Oklahoma.
Yeah, we knew going in they had a very tough schedule, one of the toughest in the SEC. When you look up and down the schedule for the Sooners, and it hasn't helped just the injuries that they've had, things not going their way, and then you pair that with this schedule, and that makes it very tough for Oklahoma. There's no way around it. But I think they do have some things, like you mentioned, they have some things in their arsenal that they could use, and I think they're going to have to moving forward. And again, things just haven't gone their way, haven't gone like we thought they would for Oklahoma this year. We thought the season would look much different, but again, they have battled a lot of injury. It's been up and down. It's been a roller coaster for several teams in the SEC this year, and certainly Oklahoma being one of those.
All right, first part of the formula I'll call takeaways plus total defense. Sooners are sixth nationally in takeaways, I believe, in FBS games per teamrankings.com. Now, I was a little surprised. Oklahoma's just 25th in yards per play surrendered by the defense. Now, they've played a couple of offenses that are very good per play, Tennessee being one, and Auburn. Despite Auburn's offensive troubles, they're one of the top teams in the country in yards per play. You put those together to go, Chase, and it's really impressive what they've done. If you can hold teams down in yards per play and take the ball away a lot. And oh, by the way, when Oklahoma takes it away, sometimes they put 6 on the board. You saw that last week against Auburn. You've seen Billy Bowman do it several times. I think that formula of those two things put together is a little scary when you're an offensive coordinator facing these guys.
It is. And anytime a team forces turnovers like Oklahoma does, the offense is automatically in a dangerous situation. And again, that's how they beat Auburn. They Kip Lewis came in big with the pick 6 and scored, and there you saw it. Oklahoma got the win there on the road at Arkansas when things hadn't gone their way throughout the game, and so the defense came up big. And I feel like this is a defense in those two categories you just said, in total defense and in takeaways, that is going to put Oklahoma in situations where they can win, because the defense is so good. And again, there's talent all over the place. But, yeah, the fact that they can force takeaways, I think, is huge and something that they need to use. They need to utilize that. They've got some really good offenses that they've seen. You mentioned Tennessee and Auburn, 2 good offenses per play. They also, they're going to see other really good offenses. Texas, Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, LSU, South Carolina's in there as well. So this defense is going to have to be in those games, is going to have to force takeaways, and I really think they can.
And just some stats to illustrate that. Auburn got 6.2 yards per play against the Sooners versus an average of 6.4 against FBS teams. The one that really stands out, though, Tennessee got 4.7 versus an average of 6.9 per play. Now, if you throw in stats against FCS teams for both those teams, where Auburn and Tennessee just blitzed an FCS opponent, that gets more dramatic. But anyway, in either case, neither Auburn nor Tennessee did what they had done against other opponents when they faced the Sooners, which is not surprising because we felt this would be one of the top defenses in the country coming into the season. And health concerns aside, nothing to really make us think otherwise. All right, number 2 key is Michael Hawkins. And I get that Michael Hawkins has only played 6 quarters, but his passer rating is 141.5 per ESPN versus Jackson Arnold's 120.9. Now, again, 6 quarters, but those may be the 6 toughest quarters or 6 of the 8 toughest quarters the Sooners have played all year, because his games have come against Auburn and a half against Tennessee, where Jackson Arnold had Tulane, Houston, Temple to put up a lot of those stats against. He's averaging 8.4 yards per pass versus 5.3 for Jackson Arnold. Rushing, he's also edging him there just a little bit, I think, by 0.2 yards per carry. Again, it gets the tougher schedule. And if you watched him last week, Chase, he just made some plays at 2-point conversion where he took on defenders and went head over heels, willing to give his body up. I think the spark they got from Michael Hawkins last week felt like just what the offense needed.
I think so. I think he is a huge spark that they needed. I mean, you saw him go out with that 48-yard touchdown at the beginning of the game against Auburn. He made some really key throws. Now, again, he's still trying to work himself in this offense and get comfortable, and it's going to take some time. But I thought he did some really good things both in the Tennessee and the Auburn game to lead me to believe that was the right decision for them to put Hawkins in and make him the starting quarterback. And again, Jackson Arnold may work himself back into that role. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think right now, giving Hawkins a chance, letting him be that spark that this offense needs, somebody needs to get him going. And again, they're battling injury. And we'll talk about that in a minute, along the offensive line, along receivers. But to have a quarterback in there that could still lead the way and give this team some confidence, I think that's Michael Hawkins. And so I thought it was a great decision for him to come in. And I think he can be a guy to help lead Oklahoma to some wins, because he can get it done in the air and on the ground.
Absolutely. I mean, just has really passed the look test so far.
Yeah.
And before we get into health, reminder, BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff. Get in on our $200,000 mega contest. Pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000 when the game's over. Head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. BetOnline. The game starts here. All right, injuries, and this is more speculative, I guess, at this point, because we just don't know when these guys are getting back. But I think Nick Anderson was he supposed to be back last week and wasn't? Chase, is that correct?
He was listed as probable. He did not play, but they're expecting him to play against Texas. And I think that may have been the thought process. Let's give him a little more time to heal and have him ready for Texas. They have the bye week this week, so he's having an extra week, but he will be probable against Texas from what I'm reading.
Yeah, the time off would, unless he gets hurt in practice, would make him even healthier. Last year, he was 38 catches for 798 yards. Again, has not contributed or caught a pass yet because of injuries. Jalil Farouk, I think, has been out since the start of the year. He's a guy that would have helped them. Little uncertain. I think he's probably got a few more weeks left on what was a broken foot. Now, you never know with those because you're having to plant and get comfortable. But, yeah, I would think that he'd play probably at some point. That's a bonus. Branson Hickman, their center, maybe their best offensive lineman, been hurt since the Temple game. That's been kind of touch and go every week. The injury updates on him are a little bit unclear, but you would think at some point, I think it's an ankle injury. You would think they get him back. Look, you could always get worse, but we're trying to be a little optimistic here. It'd be hard for it to get worse than it has for Oklahoma. And they did lose, Kendall Dolby, some other guys, but I feel like the defense is so deep that they can withstand an injury or two. If the offense gets a few of these key guys back, along with some development from Michael Hawkins, admittedly it is an optimistic view, but also a possible way things could unfold. I think the return of several of those key guys could really help the Sooners take the pressure off Deion Burks, off Hawkins, and really help Oklahoma where it needs it.
Oh, yeah. I was watching the Oklahoma-Auburn game, and they put the graphic on the screen of all the guys that were out for Oklahoma, and it was a mile long. I mean, there's just been injury after injury, and a lot of these injuries are not just, you miss a week. No, these are long-term injuries that they're having to deal with and find people to replace. And so, yeah, you get a few of these guys healthy, then I think the script can change a big time for Oklahoma. They've just been put in a very bad situation because of injuries, and there's nothing you can do about that to help that. That's just happens in the game of football. And so, yeah, I think they get some of these receivers back. They get some of these other guys back. And yeah, we're talking about a different Oklahoma team when you are 100% or closer to 100% than you are right now.
We're here to cover the Sooners along with the rest of the SEC every week. Best way to get that coverage, hit that subscribe button. That's free. Enable your notifications that you know when we come out with content. We cover also basketball and baseball year-round here at Southeastern 16. We reach millions of people a year while doing it. So if you'd like to advertise here, caroline.smith@southeastern14.com. We'll answer that and get in touch with you that way. Anyway, for Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. We are Southeastern 16, presented by BetOnline.